Yashodanandana Pratana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Hidayarat Hamadava Kundabihari Gopidana Ballabha Girivanadari Yashodanandana Vratatana Dandana Jamunatira Banachari Hidayarat Amadava Kundabihari Gopidana Ballabha Girivanadari Yashodanandana Vratajana Randana Jamunatira Vanatari Hare Krishna. My name is Vaidyanath, and I happen to be the brother of the elder brother of my spiritually elder brother Satchidananda Swami. We were born into the same family by some trick of fate, but it worked out very auspiciously. We both of us have been serving Krishna for many decades. Satchidananda Swami is 1 year ahead of me in his service. He joined a year before me, although he is a younger brother. But I'm always very happy to be at events where he speaks, and he also brought His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Swami and Gaur-Keshava Prabhu, our experts on devotional service. So today on Srimati Radharani's appearance day, I wanted to read some verses from our Shastras and present some more verses about Srimati Radharani from Srimad Bhagavatam, also from Chaitanya Charitamrita. As explained by His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Swami before, even in Bhagavad Gita there is mention of Srimati Radharani. There are a few more verses. Devi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. There's also Yoga Maya Samanvita. So there always Krishna speaks in different places about his energies. Yoga Maya energy. Yoga Maya energy is the inner potency, of whom the queen is Srimati Radharani. And then there is the Mahamaya potency, which is the inferior energy, the material energy. And Krishna says, Maya Dakshena Prakriti, Suriti Sat Characharam. He calls this inferior energy, Mahamaya, he calls it Prakriti. So there's Prakriti and Purusha, but even the spiritual world is also Krishna's energy, Prakriti. So in the Vedic revelation we have multiple goddesses and gods, and it is generally understood up to the point of the Upanishads that there is Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Karman, that the Supreme God is only one. Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Karman. But in our Gaudiya Sampradaya we place a lot of importance on Srimati Radharani, Shakti energy. This Shakti is also worshipped in the Vedic tradition by others, called Shaktas. They worship Mother Durga Devi, the supreme superintendent of the material world, Mother Durga. She is also mentioned in Brahma Samhita, and Mother Durga is an expansion of Mahalakshmi, who is the consort of Mahavishnu. So even Mahavishnu has his consorts. Vishnu has consorts. Lakshmi Narayan. This is known in the entire Vedic tradition. But up until, as His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Swami explained this morning, Jayadev Goswami in the 14th, 15th century, it was not known that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, also has a consort, female consort. In other Vedic traditions, Krishna is mostly understood to be an incarnation of Narayan, of Lord Vishnu. So he is understood to be an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. He has his pastimes on this planet with the gopis, one of whom, as is mentioned in a covered way in Srimad Bhagavatam, is Srimati Radharani. But Krishna is, in other Vedic traditions, he is not put on the supreme platform. This we hear in Srimad Bhagavatam, that eti changsa kalang pumsam krishnastu bhagavan swayam indrari vakulam lokam mridayanti yoge yoge. That amongst all the incarnations or avatars or expansions that are listed in the Puranas, especially also in Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this knowledge about Krishna and his pastimes, what he does, and who are his consorts, and is not so much spread throughout the Puranas. Even in the Srimad Bhagavatam also, Srimad Bhagavatam spoken by Srila Shukadeva Goswami, Shukadeva Goswami doesn't mention the name of Srimati Radharani. He doesn't mention the name. As our Gaudiya Acharyas are explaining, the reason is that if he would have mentioned the name of Srimati Radharani, he would have fallen off his Vyasa-san, and the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam would have stopped. However, we heard this verse this morning as presented by His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Maharaj, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:30, 28, Anayaradito nunang Bhagavan Harir Ishvaraha Yanno Vihaya Govinda Pritoyam Anayatraha. Certainly this particular gopi has perfectly worshipped the all-powerful personality of Godhead, Govinda, since he was so pleased with her that he abandoned the rest of us and brought her to a secluded place. So throughout the relation of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is talk of one particular special gopi. So this verse, 10:30-28, appears within the context of the rasa dance. The rasa dance you are familiar with. Krishna is dancing not only with one wife, Srimati Radharani, he has many consorts. See, Narayan has one consort, who is Mother Lakshmi. Lord Rama also has one consort, who is Mother Sita. But Krishna has many consorts, unlimited number of gopis, because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, amongst whom the most important is Srimati Radharani. So during the rasa dance, Krishna was dancing with all the gopis, but he took Srimati Radharani out of the rasa dance and took her for a walk in the forest. And there in the forest, the exchange was very sweet, as was found out later by the gopis when they followed Lord Krishna's traces. Krishna lifted Srimati Radharani on his arms once, and then no more footsteps could be found of Krishna all of a sudden, because when the gopis looked for Radha and Krishna in the forest, the only person they found was Srimati Radharani. She was sitting there and weeping, Krishna has abandoned me. So she was so sorry. And this separation between Radha and Krishna is the main topic of the Bhagavata relation. Just like Lord Ramachandra was separated from Sita for many years, so also Lord Krishna, most of the time of his life, was separated from Srimati Radharani. And even as early as the Rasa dance, Krishna left Radha. The reason is explained in the Bhagavatam. Srimati Radharani, because she was so much favored by Krishna, became proud. And when Krishna noticed this pride, he put her on the ground and went away. Then the gopis, looking for Krishna, they also felt the separation. There is the relation in Bhagavatam, how they were imitating Krishna's pastimes. At the end, the gopis found Krishna, and there was a happy reunion, which is referred to in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 32, verse 8. I want to read this verse and the explanation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The verse reads, that's Bhagavatam 10:32-8. Tang kachinni trarandrena ridi kritvani milyacha pulakangi upaguyaste yogivananda sampluta. One gopi took the Lord through the aperture of her eyes and placed him within her heart. Guess who is that gopi? One gopi out of the many gopis. Who is that gopi? Srimati Radharani, yes. Then, with her eyes closed and her bodily hairs standing on end, she continuously embraced him within her heart. Thus, immersed in transcendental ecstasy, she resembled a yogi meditating upon the Lord. So, after the reunion, Radha had been separated from Krishna, the gopis had been separated from Krishna. There was a reunion. Then one gopi, who was Srimati Radharani, just looked at Krishna and placed him within her heart. And in that position, she was in transcendental ecstasy, with eyes closed and her bodily hair standing on end. Srimati Radharani has one particular ecstasy, Mahabhava. This is the highest sentiment of devotional ecstasy. She continuously embraced him within, thus immersed in transcendental ecstasy. She resembled a yogi meditating upon the Lord. So we read the purport. Purport. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur states that the 7 gopis mentioned so far in this chapter are the first 7 of the 8 principal gopis, whose status allowed them to immediately approach Sri Krishna upon his reappearance. The Acharya quotes a verse from the Sri Vaishnava Tushani that gives the names of the 7 principal gopis as Chandravali, Shyamala, Saibya, Padma, Shrirata, Lalita, and Vishaka. The 8th is understood to be Bhadra. Sri Vaishnava Tushani itself quotes a verse from the Skanda Purana that declares that these 8 gopis to be the principal among 3 billion gopis. Detailed information about the hierarchy of gopis is available in Srila Rupa Goswami's Ujjvala Nilamani. The Padma Purana confirms that Sri Radha is the foremost of the gopis. Yata rata priya Vishnu stasya kundang priyang tata sarva gopishu saivaika Vishnu radyanta vallabha. Just as Srimati Radharani is most dear to Krishna, her bathing pond is similarly dear. Of all the gopis, she is the most beloved of the Lord. The Brihad Gautamiya Tantra also names Srimati Radharani as Krishna's foremost consort. Devi Krishna Mayi Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mayi Sarva Kanti Sumohini Para. The transcendental goddess Srimati Radharani is the direct counterpart of Lord Sri Krishna. She is the central figure for all the goddesses of fortune. She possesses all attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Godhead. She is the primeval internal potency of the Lord. Additional information about Sri Radha is given in the Rig Parishista, the supplement to the Rig Veda. Radhaya Madhavo Devo Madhavinai Varadika Viprajante Janeshu. Among all persons, it is Sri Radha in whose company Lord Madhava is especially glorious, as she is especially glorious in his. So this knowledge about Srimati Radharani is very confidential, as we heard this morning. Guyam means confidential knowledge. Guyam means the knowledge that we are not this body, but the spirit soul. There's a lot of knowledge prevalent nowadays and everywhere in the material world, but no knowledge is available on the soul. You can't read about the soul in the newspapers. It is materially not existent, this knowledge, and it is very confidential. And it is so confidential that Lord Krishna himself has to descend to reveal this spiritual knowledge that we are not the body, but spirit soul. It's called Guyam. Raja Vidya Raja Guyam. Pravitam Paramam Bhavan. Pratyaksavagamam Daryam Susukam Kartam Avyayam. That Krishna is promising to Arjuna in the beginning of the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, I will now reveal to you that knowledge, the king who is the king of education, and it is the purest knowledge, and it is the perfection of religion. Why is it the purest knowledge and the perfection of religion? That is so because by direct perception, when you have this knowledge, you can perceive the soul. Pratyakshavagram dharmyam. You can perceive the spirit soul. You can perceive spiritual essence. So therefore it is very confidential and not given to everybody. Holy books, the Bhagavad Gita, of course, available in ample quantities. We are distributing Bhagavad Gitas all over the world. Still, only very few devotees, few people become devotees, because as long as one does not surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, these books are books with 7 seals. Only when you surrender to Krishna, then Krishna will be pleased to you to reveal this most confidential knowledge. So Guyam, that's knowledge of the soul. Then Guyatara, more confidential, means knowledge of the super soul. Yes, all of us are Brahman, but along with the soul there is Parabrahman, or the super soul. In the spiritual world there is variety. Yes, we are all spiritual beings. The body is temporary and of material nature, full of suffering. But in the spiritual world, there's this Satchit Ananda, potency, eternity, bliss, and knowledge. But in the spiritual world, there's not only Brahman. Many stop at that level. That now I have become Brahman. Tatvam Asi. You are that. We are all. I'm Brahman. You are Brahman. Soham. I'm also Brahman. Many spiritual traditions stop at that point to understand we are all, in a way, we are all the same, we are all spiritual. But the more confidential knowledge, Guyatara, that along with the soul, there is the super soul. Paramatma, not only Atma, but Paramatma. And then the most confidential knowledge, Guyatamam, that is the supreme knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as explained by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajyamam Ikang Sharanang Vraja Ahang Tvang Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Yishyami Masuchaho. Give up all other paths of religion and just surrender unto me. Bhaktyamam Abhijanati Yavanjastasmi Tatvataha. I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can be understood in full tattva, in full truth, in all details, by bhakti, by the practice of devotional service. Tatomam tattvato gyatva vishati tat anantaram. By this practice of bhakti, we will be able to go on back to Godhead and see how Krishna is enjoying with his father, with his mother, with his coward boyfriends, with the gopis. Even we will see the 8 principal gopis. We will see Srimati Radharani also. This is possible by the process of pure devotional service. How is this process of pure devotional service from other processes of self-realization? Krishna mentions different 3 processes of self-realization. He mentions karma yoga, jnana yoga, hatha yoga, and bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga is explained by Srila Prabhupada as pure devotional service. Bhakti yoga strives for pure, unmixed relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that the Bhakti yogi is not interested in the side benefits of the performance of his dharma or execution of his sadhana. He's not interested in fruitive results. He's not interested in knowledge, theoretical knowledge. He is only interested in a pure relationship to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this relationship, this process of bhakti yoga, actually is meant to uncover our eternal position in relationship to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some of us may be on the Madhurya rasa, on the matrimonial rasa, matrimonial relationship with Krishna. Others are coward boyfriends, father, mother, and so many. So there are millions of gopis. There is a statement in Chaitanya Charitamrita comparing different levels of love. Different levels of love. There is called the material love, like it's called kama, lust. The love between husband and wife, for example, man and woman, that is called kama, lust. And then there is prema. Prema is the love that is enjoyed between the living entities and Krishna, and also between Srimati Radharani and Krishna. Now we must understand about Srimati Radharani. She is not one of the living entities. Srimati Radharani is not a jiva soul. She is an expansion of Krishna. It says in our scriptures that originally the Supreme Personality of Godhead was one. Eko bahunam yovidadam kama. Yovidadati kama. Originally he was one. But then he divided himself in 2, in Radha and Krishna, in order to facilitate his personal enjoyment. Because being alone is boring. What will Lord Vishnu do all alone there? He has to enjoy. So he expanded himself into Srimati Radharani. Then there were 2. And Srimati Radharani became the head of his pleasure potency. So Srimati Radharani, from Srimati Radharani also all the gopis expand. Then all the Lakshmis in the spiritual world, they are all expansions of Srimati Radharani. Then the Mahalakshmi consort of Mahavishnu, she's expansion of Shakti Tattva. These are not jiva souls. They are as potent as the Vishnu Tattva, or the Vishnu himself. And then from Mahalakshmi comes Durga Devi, the superintendent of the material world. And in the material world, again, we have man and woman. Actually, in the material world, we are only, we think that we are enjoyers, whether we are men or whether we are women, but actually we are prakriti. So in this material world, man and woman, they have an attraction for each other, which is called karma. Srila Prabhupada explains in Bhagavad Gita 10th chapter 1 purport that if one is in love with Krishna, then it can be compared to a young boy and a young girl enjoying together. But this is a very weak example. because really material attraction between a man and woman do not have much in common with the interaction between Radha and Krishna, and with the interaction between Radha and Krishna, and with the attraction of the gopis in the transcendental world. There are many differences. Chaitanya Charitamrita says the prema is like gold and the karma is like iron. For example, one difference is, in the spiritual world, although there are billions of gopis, there is no jealousy. This jealousy is one main point of disturbance in the relationship between husband and wife, isn't it? That you only want me, please give your attention only to me. If there's any other attraction, then there will be jealousy. But in Krishna consciousness, we are spreading knowledge about Krishna to make everybody return back home, back to Krishna, and to facilitate everybody's relationship with Krishna. Srila Prabhupada founded this movement so everybody can have sadhu sangha, association with devotees, and in that sadhu sangha learn about Krishna and go back home, back to Krishna, and enjoy the same transcendental relationship with Krishna that Srila Prabhupada was enjoying. This is why Prabhupada started the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He explained that in Sri Upadeshamrita. So this jealousy isn't there. Then also, this relationship is eternal. The soul is already eternal, parts of Krishna, Mama Evangsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. And when we performed Bhakti Yoga also, it is an eternal activity. We are reawakening the sleeping soul and reawakening the soul's relationship to Krishna, even when the body dies. This Neha Vikramanasasti, Krishna says, whatever advancement we have made, that will be taken to the next life, and we continue at the next point. In the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains what happens to the fallen yogi. If somebody he starts a process of yoga, but he doesn't complete this process of yoga. So then he first goes to the heavenly planets, comes back to earth, but there again he follows the spiritual inclination, takes up the spiritual path. Whatever advancement he made in his next life, even many lives before, is not lost. It is taken to the next incarnation, even in this body, and at the end, such devotees will go home back to Godhead. It will not be, no material impediment can destroy this bhakti plant. Even if in Bhagavatam several places is explained that even if a devotee has a temporary fall down, it is not considered so serious by Krishna. Also in Bhagavad Gita 9:30, Krishna says that Krishna takes the desire that a devotee has to go back to him, and he will survive this temporary fall down, and he will be able to pick up where he left off before. So there's already two differences between love of Krishna and love in the material world. One is that love of Krishna is eternal. The second one that we mentioned first is that there is no jealousy. And so billions of gopis. Now we in the past times we sometimes hear of the jealousy that Srimati Radharani is cultivating with the other gopis. If you go to Vrindavan, there is many temples where Srimati Radharani is depicted in a very sorrowful mood. Why? Because Krishna has been talking to other gopis, and Srimati Radharani even becomes angry at Krishna. At one point, Krishna turns into a peacock to attract Srimati Radharani, and they become friends again. Or at one point, Krishna takes sannyas. He disguises himself as sannyasi and retrieves Srimati Radharani's attraction for him. So there are many pastimes how Srimati Radharani becomes jealous the pastime of Srimati Tulsi Devi also was Vrinda Devi. Krishna had in the spiritual world one gopi called Vrinda Devi, and Krishna talked to pastimes of Vrinda Devi. Vrinda Devi becomes actually engaged to Krishna against his will. You probably know the story. Krishna plays tricks again. He has relationship with Vrinda Devi. Then in the material world, Vrinda Devi becomes Tulsi Devi because Krishna is cursing her, and Krishna becomes Shalagram Shila because Vrinda Devi is cursing. But then Vrinda Devi goes back to the spiritual world. She makes friends with Srimati Radharani. She was given a Radha mantra by Lord Brahma. And Krishna also is worshipped since as Shalagram Shila, just like Tulsi Devi is worshipped every day in the material world. And he also goes back to Godhead, resumes his role as the supreme flute player in Goloka Vrindavan. Huh? So these pastimes always have a happy end and are there to put some drama into the relationship between Radha and Krishna. Especially also, they're written down in our holy scriptures so that the conditioned souls have something nice to read and hear about. Krishna Katha. Huh? Krishna Katha. Krishna performs these pastimes just like compared to an actor on stage. He has some drama, so the people come to see the drama. So Krishna also comes to the world to play the drama, and so does Srimati Radharani and all the gopis. So there is a vast ocean of difference between the material attraction between man and woman and the spiritual world. This is why Krishna Kshetra Swami was mentioning today there's always a Leela police. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati prohibited his devotees to openly talk about Radha Krishna Leela and pastimes. And Srila Prabhupada also was very adamant about this. Still, nowadays many books are translated by the Goswamis, and it is part of our tradition to study these pastimes. And there are hints in Chaitanya Charitamrita also. I have some more quotes here and there. So it definitely is part of our tradition to study Radha Krishna Leela. But we must have a particular attitude. I'd like to give the example. We all have parents, right? We all have parents. We have father and mother. And there are, in our family album, there are pictures of how our parents got married, right? The wedding of our parents. And before they got married and when they had us, they were deeply in love. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had us, right? But do we go into our parents' bath, sleeping room, dormitory, to study what they're doing there? No, we don't do that. That is strictly prohibited. Mostly they keep the doors locked. Or what are the my parents, now they have been married for 70 years. My mother is telling me when our father was fighting in the Second World War, they wrote letters to each other, love letters. And she kept all the letters my father wrote from the front there in a box. She showed my daughter where is that box, and she showed me where is that box with all the love letters they have. But she said, when we die, don't publish those letters, just burn them. It's not your business. What was our relationship? It was definitely a loving relationship, but even in the material world, these things are kept secret. We revere our parents, both mother and father. The mother is Adi Guru. She's our first guru. She teaches us even how to eat and all these things. We see many mothers here. She's Adi Guru. And similarly, the father is also in the household. He's supposed to be a representative of the Supreme Personality of God, the godly husband. Modern women still have to learn this, that the husband is a representative of God. Some, of course, are not, but he should try to become. Guru nasasyat, pita nasasyat. Bhagavatam says one should not become a parent or a teacher or a caretaker or a person of responsibility if one cannot teach his dependents how to return back home, back to Godhead. So these are parents are revered. They are estimated people. We always pay our obeisances to them. We don't go into the details of their psychology. Even I remember when our parents sometimes they had some quarrel. We kids, we weren't interested in the detail. We'll just close the door, go playing. We would know after some time they'll be all right. Srila Prabhupada explains that quarrel in marriage is like a thunder in the sky. Rumbling only, nothing serious. A matter of minutes, sometimes of a day. My parents always would make it a point, at even before going to bed, he would make peace again. They have been married for 70 years. Yeah, so similarly, how should we see Srimati Radharani? Right, we are bathing her. We are hearing this and that about her relationship to Krishna, and the Goswamis write dramas. But so much we do not get to hear, and we should not want to hear. We should revere Srimati Radharani as our eternal mother. She is our eternal mother, just like Krishna is our eternal father. Aham bija prada pita. He says, I'm the seed-giving father of all living entities. How is Krishna able to throw the seed, the spirit souls, into the prakriti, material nature? Why? Because he is so happy because of his relationship with Srimati Radharani. But Srimati Radharani is our eternal mother. She is the mother of the universe. She is the head of all the Shakti, of the entire Shakti Tattva. She is more powerful than Mother Durga. She is especially in charge of Krishna's emotional life. So she is immensely powerful. In Vrindavan, everybody knows, in Vrindavan they say Rate, Rate. There are these beautiful songs. Srila Prabhupada only wanted us to sing these songs like Rate, Rate and Radhasmi, like we were singing this morning. Rate, 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 Shyama Milale, Rate, 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 Rate. Prabhupada only wanted us to sing this during Janmashtami, because if you worship Srimati Radharani without Krishna, she'll get ashamed. She'll get ashamed. She always wants to have Krishna by her side. Krishna is Krishna her husband. Everybody else is married. Lakshmi Narayan are always married. Everybody is married. The demigods, everybody is married. Demigods are married from the beginning of the creation. Have you ever heard of divorced demigods? Or single demigoddesses? Huh? Single parent demigoddesses? Or bachelor? Well, we have some bachelors amongst the demigods. Hanuman is a bachelor. And Ganesh couldn't find anyone. Huh? That's why he got married to knowledge, to jnana and yes. So, but everybody else is married. No divorce, even amongst the demigods. And in the spiritual world, Lakshmi Narayan also never. Since they are all eternally together. Huh? So, yeah, but Radha through marriage, but Radha and Krishna, they have this parakya rasa. They are not married. Huh? They are not married. Parakya rasa. It's a puzzle. Huh? As we were hearing this morning, there was an idea by Mother Yashoda to get Radha married to Krishna, but it didn't work out. There's another pastime. I remember once Radha and Krishna did play a wedding, and Lord Brahma, he descended to be the marriage priest, the wedding priest, to get them married. So they did get married. There is but they were small children, 7 or 8 something. And there's a place in Vrindavan where you can see that tree where Radha and Krishna got married, and Lord Brahma was the priest. But it wasn't taken seriously. So everybody said this is children's play. Huh? So they are not married. Parakya rasa. Why? Because the supreme type of enjoyment in the spiritual world is completely without any formality. Without any formality, without any rituals. Huh? This is the bhava, especially in Vrindavan, that this any rituals it's not reverential like in Vaikuntha. It is completely spontaneous bhakti in Vrindavan. That's why also they didn't go through the formality of getting married. But even in Vaikuntha, Lord Vishnu is always married. Huh? So, yeah, Srila Prabhupada says that what is highest in the spiritual world is lowest in the material world. Prabhupada gave us these rules: no illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, and no gambling. In India, this is understood, everybody. But in the West, Prabhupada had to introduce these rules because it was not common knowledge. Okay, so Hare Krishna, so far. Now, at this point, I wanted to ask you if you have any questions. Yes, please.
First, I would like to thank you very much for the lecture. It was very amazing.
Uh-huh.
My question is, how in this material world I can recognize that somebody has bhakti and how I can get the bhakti?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. How can we recognize who has bhakti and how can one get bhakti himself? There are different stages when one starts Krishna consciousness. We all go through the beginner stage. And the beginner stage is called Ka-nishta. Ka-nishta means little faith. Some faith is there, shraddha, but little, not so much of it. So at that beginning stage, which we all have to go through, it is very hard to recognize who is a so-called advanced devotee, who has pure devotion to Krishna, who is a medium devotee, who is stable in his devotional service, but still has to deal with material attachments. So we all have, main thing is just to begin Krishna conscious. Yes, even in the beginning there is little faith. Clear, we come with no faith. Adau Shada. The beginning there is faith and Tata Sadhusang, the association with devotees at such festivals, for example. So then, in spiritual organizations like ours, we know that. Somebody in ISKCON is walking in saffron, has a danda, needs a sannyasi. You can assume he does have love of Krishna. Because he is outwardly dressed like that. It's a spiritual institution. So those people who wear saffron and the danda, they only get this under certain conditions, that they're very advanced and steady in devotional service. They themselves have love of Krishna and are able to spread love of Krishna. With others, you may not be able to see. Sometimes during festivals, of course, more prominent devotees will behave in a certain way. Those who know them, they will give them a seat, so you can guess he's probably knows something, has been around for longer time and knows something by his behavior, just from outside. But inside what he is feeling, you cannot know when you're a beginner. Nobody can read your mind. You can see the body, he looks like this and that, but you cannot read the mind. What he's thinking, you don't know. Even somebody maybe, if you're a beginner, he may smile, you think, oh, he's smiling, he's very advanced, but actually he comes as a guest. So don't overestimate your facilities, your abilities when you just start. Our main thing is to just hear and chant and follow the process, and in this way gradually one will make advancement. This Karnishta level then becomes purified to the Madhyam Adhikari, or the devotee on the medium platform. On that platform you are able to understand who is a devotee, who is not a devotee, who is a pure devotee. You get their vibrations, So just continue the stage one has to go through. After some time, the eyes will be cleansed by the mercy of the spiritual master. He opens my darkened eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. He opens your eyes. Now in the material world, our eyes are darkened. That we are blind spiritually, practically speaking. But the spiritual master opens our eyes, and then we can see who is devotee, who is not devotee, who is God, who is not God. There are people walking around, they claim to be God. You know that? Has always been. But if you are yourself a practicing devotee, you are able to see who is God and who is not God. For us, Krishna is God. The avatars are God. Lord Chaitanya is God. Nityananda is God. Srimati Radharani is God. But just claiming that I am God is not sufficient. You have to show some credentials, Even if one is not on the, doesn't, see intuitively, one can see the credentials. You are, you claim to be God. Where is it predicted in Scripture? Please show me where it is predicted. Well, we are not so much into Scripture. That's what the answer you get. For example, Lord Chaitanya is God. And we have ample documentation in Scripture for those who are not able. Even in many Indian traditions, Lord Chaitanya is not known. Not known. Some may know, he is a Bengali holy man of the 16th century. And it's all right with us. But in our tradition, our acharyas have gone through a lot of effort to prove in Scripture how Lord Chaitanya was predicted. There's predictions in Srimad Bhagavatam, several predictions, and in Mahabharata there's predictions. And there's even a Chaitanya Upanishad discovered by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And for us, just to be sure who is God and who is not God, we go by Scripture. There may be others, maybe also that are God. We don't know, but we only take those who are mentioned in Scripture. And that even a beginner can do, Even a beginner can do this pragmatical research. Okay, your question. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for a wonderful lecture. So maybe may I ask, like, when Krishna left this material world, I mean, what happened to Vrindavan after, like, at the same time, all the gopis and Srimati Radharani, they also left the material world?
Ah, very good. Very good. Well, wait a second. I have a quote for you. Here. Yeah. I didn't know if I would get to read this, but since you're asking the question, so this is a kind of a sad thing. How did Srimati Radharani disappear? So we have here Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 10th canto, here it's go. Okay, 10th canto, chapter 78, verse 16. I read from the verse reads. Evam Yogeshvaro Krishno Bhagavan Jagat Ishvara Iyate Pashutristinam Nirjito Jayati Tisa. Thus Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master of all mystic power and Lord of the universe, is ever victorious. Only those of beastly vision think he sometimes suffers defeat. So in the purport, there is the I'm only reading part of the purport. Lord Krishna's journey from Dwarka to Vraja is confirmed by the following passage of Srimad Bhagavatam 111.9. O lotus-eyed Lord, whenever you go away to Mathura, Vrindavan or Hastinapura to meet your friends and relatives, every moment of your absence seems like a million years. So it is a question, continuing this question, did Krishna ever go back to Vrindavan? So, Lord Krishna had been harboring a desire to go see his friends and relatives in Vraja ever since Lord Baladev had gone there, but his mother, father, and other elders in Dwarka had refused to give him permission. Now, however, after the killing of Shalva, when Krishna had heard from Narada that Dantavakra had gone to Mathura, no one could object to the Lord's going there immediately without first entering Dwarka. So there is Shishupal and Dantavakra were reincarnations of giant Vijay. So Hiranyakashipu Hiranyaksha. So Krishna had to kill Dantavakra and he was in Mathura, just 5 kilometers away from Vrindavan. After killing Dantavakra, he would have the opportunity to meet with his friends and relatives living in Vraja. Thinking like this and also remembering Uddhava's allusion to the gopis in the words of Gayanti te Vishada Karma, he went to Vraja, dispelling the feelings of separation of the inhabitants. For 2 months, Lord Krishna enjoyed in Vrindavan just as before, previous to his leaving there to kill Kamsa in Mathura. Then, at the end of 2 months, he withdrew his Vraja pastimes from mundane eyes by taking the demigod portions of his parents and other relatives and friends to Vaikuntha. Thus, in one complete plenary manifestation, he went to Goloka in the spiritual world. In another, he remained perpetually enjoying in Vraja, while invisible to material eyes, and yet in another, he mounted his chariot and returned alone to Dwarka. The people of Saurasena province thought that after killing Dantavakra, Krishna had paid a visit to his parents and other dear ones, and now was returning to Dwarka. The people of Vraja, on the other hand, could not understand where he had suddenly disappeared to, and so they were totally astonished. So this is a long purport. So after killing Dantavakra, Krishna went to Vraja and spent spent time with everybody, and at the same time he dissolved the entire Raja, and everybody went home back to Godhead. Partially to demigods, and others went back to the spiritual world.
Okay, so the Vrindavan was the Brajavasi, I would say, like they left the material world before Krishna and Dwarka actually.
Yes, yes. Yeah, but at the same time, Krishna and Radha and Krishna are never separated. Even the feeling of separating, even in the last verse of Bhagavad Gita, Sanjaya says, wherever there are Krishna and Arjuna, there's definitely good fortune and fame and all these good qualities. So that is good fortune, that is Lakshmi Devi, and for Krishna it's always Radharani. Radharani was there on Krishna's mind, even in the battle of Kurukshetra. And during his pastime, of course, he wanted to go home, go back, but he wasn't allowed. And then there is this memorable meeting in Kurukshetra. And actually, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they left Vrindavan and went to Kurukshetra to have this meeting with the inhabitants of Dwarka, to see Krishna. At that time, there was an attempt by the gopis to take Krishna back to Vrindavan. And Krishna actually explained, they had a meeting, Radha and Krishna met, but Radharani says we can't have our relationship here, can only happen in the simple village of Vrindavan. Srimati Radharani said, this royal environment is just too much for me, I can't live here. Right, okay. Hare Krishna. So now Lord Nrsingadev is showing himself to us again. Vanchakalpataruptyascha kripasinivaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.